Up from okay. Sorry, Joe, I forgot to cue you.
That's all right. I took a guess.
Yeah, recording in progress. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to coaching. We're going to talk about some of the spawn thoughts from yesterday's in-person meeting in the old mill office. And a lot of the things that were talked about were on page 113 of the coaching manual. So if you want to go there, and I'll also show it on screen, there's kind of 10 points. I'm going to skip around a little bit and see if we can't have a discussion about some of these. So let's see if let's see, Acrobat, get that up, share screen. Okay, everybody see that okay? Okay, relationship. This is page 112. So this is in kind of the vein of getting ready for a listing presentation. And the importance of honesty was brought up, I guess being honest about the scope of problem. There's many different problems out there. We related them to being villains and you being the hero. And you don't understand really how important the hero is in a story until you understand how big and powerful and daunting the task is of taking out the villain. And so a lot of movies start off with the idea that they're going to introduce you to the villain first. And so that you really see that in most stories, it almost seems insurmountable, to overcome the villain in the story. And the hero rises to the occasion over a process. And if you've ever researched the hero's journey, then you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, it's interesting. You just Google it. There's a pattern, go images, and you'll see a pattern of the hero's journey. Well, you're the hero, and you have a lot of resources. There's mentors around you. Most heroes have mentors and examples to look towards that bring out the best in them. And of course, at the end of the story, they transcend the challenge and overcome the villain. And we all go home happy after spending, $20 a person at the theater. So, and there you go. There's the whole movie industry in a pattern. So we were talking about how that relates, just being honest with really what we're up against. So it's not just being like truthful. It's being, wholly honest about what the struggles are. So that brings me to the 10 ways to thrive. And, actually, let me just stop sharing for a second and talk about this hero's journey. I'm curious. Has anyone heard that before? The hero's journey?
No.
Yes.
Nope.
Can't Steve know?
Yeah, Dr.
It's really interesting. If you just Google, hero's journey, there's an interesting pattern there that a lot of screenwriters use to build their story. So, you've heard me talk a lot about problem, solution, value. Yes? Problem, solution, value. So when you present problem and complexity and then present the solution, then you create value. That's kind of the effect of it. It's almost as if they were elements in the the elemental table where copper, oxygen, water. So if you took elements that metaphorically, if we said here's problem and here's solution, and they're separate elements, and you slammed them together in the lab, what you would get is value. And when you take a hero and you take a villain and you slam them together, you get triumph and victory. You get that's the effect of it. The hero always wins. We know that the hero always wins. And you should always be able to win over all the villains we're up against. So what do you think our villains are? As a matter of fact, I really actually need this because, Steve, I'm going to bring this discussion to Park City at Tuhei on a bigger scale. So if you guys could help me with some content, I certainly have my own thoughts on the subject. It's not like I don't have some ideas about who our villains are. But what do you think our villains are in real estate? What are we up against?
Interest rates.
Yep. We sure are. Okay, give me more villains before we talk about heroes, but give me more villains. What else do we have?
Sellers still being bullish.
Okay, could I phrase that as sellers expectations?
Sure.
Okay, sellers expectations. And I'll put bullish. Okay, what else? More villains.
Buyer's personal debt.
Okay, buyer's debt. Or qualifying. Buyer's qualifications. Okay, give me more.
Maybe buyer's expectations.
Yeah, like we have seller's expectation, we also have buyer's expectations. Okay. Kev, you got any villains that we're up against? What are you seeing that we're constantly battling against in this market?
Agents who don't believe in their own value and sell out because they don't provide anything other than basic minimum services. They don't go above and beyond.
Okay. How would I simplify that? Let's see. Agent.
Bad agents.
Okay. Yeah, just bad agents. Okay. Yeah, that okay. I like it. I mean, I don't like
Yeah,
that.
lack of agents training or being trained on basic things.
Yeah. Okay, so poorly trained agents, poorly trained or not trained agents. We on that note, those are in Old Mill, but we shared so this came up about, have you seen improper things from other agents? And everyone started laughing. Well, a group of us did, because they were looking at me like, yeah, we did. I think Allison Reemschneider brought this up, but it was an agent had screenshotted a signature of their client for a previous document and then pasted it as the signature for acceptance. I'm not even making it like seriously. So we looked at it, and of course the date on the scanned signature was 7 days prior.
Oh,
yeah. You can't believe it. Like who in their mind thought that was ever correct thing to do? All right. So more villains, guys. Interest rates, seller expectation, buyer expectations, qualifying buyers, badly trained agents or poorly trained agents. What else are villains?
Bad inspections.
Okay. So inspections. Can you give me something that's really unique to this market? I mean, you're missing some really good ones, just if you think about it. Like,
how about the news and talk of a recession?
Okay. Yeah, we certainly get that. I love that. Like media.
National media telling us that the entire market's the same everywhere.
Yeah, media news and spin, negative spin. It's always negative spin. Why is it negative spin? Why doesn't the news just get on every day and tell us all the wonderful things that happened in the world that day? Why don't they do that? I mean, there's a lot of wonderful things that happen, but why are they not telling us all the good stuff?
Doesn't sell.
That's right. The shock of bad and negative news sells and gets eyes on the screen because we are drawn to it like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. So the negative sells. So they're going to stick to what sells, that gets the views. And so the media is very negative. And so, yeah, I like that one. Now that's a good one. I'll put that, if we were playing Family Feud, I'll put that in our top 5. Interest rates, of course, number 1. And, but we still got some really good ones. So what else is out there? Villains in this market.
Cost of ownership.
Okay. Cost.
It could be mortgages, it could be HOA, be property taxes. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. Taxes. Because taxes are an issue right now because everyone's realizing that their taxes are going up, their value went up, their taxes went up. So they're thinking about their cost of ownership and holding costs. Okay, got it.
For some, affordability is a villain.
Yeah, I think that goes into buyer qualifications. I'll write that down, Linda, affordability. Because as interest rates climb, it's changing our income to debt ratio, and because the debt's going up with the payment. Okay, what else?
Inventory availability.
There you go. Number two on the board, low inventory. Okay, I want to talk more about that in a second, but low inventory. What else? Very unique to this market right now, today. Villains today.
So we're missing number one.
But you got number one. Number one is interest rate.
Oh, okay.
No question about it. Let me just check the chat here. Wasn't able to check the chat. Affordability, prices. Oh yeah, thanks, Chris. You put the hero's journey on there. Nice. Thanks for doing that, Chris. Let's take a look at that in the chat, you guys. Chris Visser put, and if you don't know Chris, you guys, great agent, works with his wife in the Ogden office. Just really great Berkshire family, and a real good teammate. So thank you for doing that. I really appreciate it. So there's Discount Broker, Kev, along with your comments from Steve. Yeah, Linda, yeah, we got that one on the recession and the negative news. Let's see. Fear. Let's see.
I think a lot of people forget that we have to coordinate with so many people. So we have to coordinate with inspectors and appraisers and lenders and the other agent and the sellers and the buyers and just all the coordination that goes into everything. We do it so often, it's easy, but in reality, that's a lot of moving pieces.
Yeah. I'm just going to put transaction. Well, yeah, transaction. Leading transactions. Anyone else got anything else before I give you a couple more?
Well, I think when you're talking, Will, about, valuing the agent and are we underselling? I think you mentioned that, Kevin.
Yeah.
I think that I don't think buyers or sellers, especially, because they pay the fee most of the time, realize all that we do. And I think that if we going back to the Coleman days, we used to have a visual talking about all the aspects that go into doing a transaction, whether it's inspection, title, marketing, to again enhance and show our value. And I think having something visual, and I think like getting back to how we can help us to show our value and justify our fee. Again, it's just following up on what Kevin said.
Yeah, I love it, Steve. I mean, to Jill's point too, I think they tie together. Wouldn't it be sad to know that inside of our own, family here at Berkshire, that there's agents who just don't see their value. So that confidence is lower. So I know that goes on a lot. I mean, you offer less, you have less confidence. I mean, it just, if you're truthful about the environment you're in.
Well, here's another one that it was not more of a villain in that working with other brokers, agents, sometimes, and we faced it recently, everyone tends to, maybe not everyone, but people tend to get very proprietary about their client rather than realizing we're working together to try to solve the problem.
Yeah.
And I think this, Bobby, gets into maybe Mark and Kevin, you and the brokers, that, where do we see cooperation rather than, and I don't know how you say it, but it's just getting more and more challenging working sometimes with other brokers because they get defensive.
Yep.
And protective of their client rather than saying, okay, hey, how do we solve this problem and make it more of a win-win? Yeah. We've engaged that recently in more transactions.
Yeah, I think that's a great one. That's a top 5. I put adversarial agents.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, they just tend to be in the way more than helping us to find a way.
Right.
And, yeah, very combative, very defensive, very one-sided. And isn't it interesting that we've been on both sides of these transactions? If you've had any kind of a career whatsoever, you've represented sellers, you've represented buyers, you know their points of view. So trying to solve problem is the solution, and focus on solutions to problems. Remember, that's how we create value, right, in the eyes of our clients. And I always like to use the Park City as an example, because the commissions up there are 2 to 3 to 4 times what the rest of the marketplace is, right? So you're having to justify value that is 4 times what everybody else is. So if it's working there, then it should definitely work everywhere else. You know, like there are some principles there. That doesn't mean every market's the same. So don't read into more than that, but think about how we deliver value when our commissions are hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if we can win there, we should pay close attention to that. Okay, so there was, I think there's a top 5 one that we've missed. And you're not going to be surprised when I say this, but it's the legal complexities. So if you're taking notes at all, think about this. We have laws, rules. So we have laws and rules, we have ethics, and we have policies. And then that's like the backdrop that we're all trying to navigate. You know, we like right now, we're being questioned about the validity or the risk versus the possibility. I'll just say it. So seller financing. It's questions I'm getting more than anything right now. Should my seller consider it? Well, you don't have a loan that's assumable. Okay. So you have a due on sale clause in the terms of the loan that the seller agreed to. So the lender will call that due. You should plan on that. They were going to call it due. We are going to look, I've been kicking this can down the road. Kev, you've heard this before, but we've been kicking this can down the road. And we're going to stop kicking the can down the road. So I put out all my feelers today. We're going to get the CE class together. I'm going to try to do this within 30 days. Maybe it is 6 weeks from now, but we will have a class on seller financing to debate and discuss the options that our seller clients have. In the meantime, the simple answer is we can't get behind that. All right. We can't give that kind of advice. Now that's a villain, right? Because people are looking at this going, well, why can't I, just seller finance? And I think that could be very, very treacherous, landscape to go through. So legal complexities. Yeah. So remember, that's one of the top things that we do as an agent is we lower legal risk. So don't forget that a lot of the villains out there are the language inside our contracts, our disclosures, our clauses, all of that. Okay. So, okay. Someone was going to chime in. Was that you, Chris?
Chris.
Yeah. I was just
Yeah,
going to say, but my wife and I sat on the Tom Ferry call the other day, and they're digging deep into that. Sorry, I'm at the gym. That buyer's agent, the BAC, they dug deep into that and the legal. Like, are we going to have problems with, the buyer broker agreement? So I wonder if that's I don't know if that one's right up in front as one of the villains, but I know that one's at least lingering in the background from my perspective.
I think that's a good way to put it. I'm very aware of it. We all are. Berkshire participated in, I guess we participated in one of the lawsuits because they had to pick someone in the geographical area. And so we offered some files. Interesting enough that they found nothing in any of these files that could justify the arguments they were putting together, primarily being collusion. They're looking to prove that NAR, UAR, Berkshire as a franchise puts together, commission rates that we will not participate unless. So we essentially fix these commission rates. They found nothing of the sort. Every client is independently negotiated with. Berkshire Hathaway Utah Properties has every right to set a commission rate like all other businesses. No different than anyone else. Like, we have the rates that we charge for our services. The client can either use it or not. And we recommend BAC rates to improve their chance of selling. And they're aware of that. And it is disclosed up front. And so they found nothing material in any of the documents. And they had, spent, I don't know how many attorney hours, which is part of this lawsuit. I think you have to understand that, there's the attorneys don't work for free, and they're billing some huge bills here. But what can we do about that? This is a villain, I think, that's lurking, that we're going to pay close attention to. I've talked about this for 2 years now. We have to better our presentation to our buyers. So we don't, oh gosh, don't get me started. Here we go. We don't, as an industry, treat our buyer clients like we do our seller clients. Like, we go and just do a presentation to our sellers. We don't really do that with buyers. You know what we do with buyers? We show them houses. And because it works, right? They call us. We say, do you have an agent? Well, we don't. Well, what are you looking for? I'm looking for this. Great. You know what? I think, have you seen this property? Nope, haven't seen that one. Would you like to see it? Yes. How about tomorrow? Boom. You meet them. You show them. You get to know them. You show them more property. Pretty soon they want to buy a house, right? And then you sell it and you have a commission. They're happy. You're happy, all that. So what's missing is the buyer presentation, right? So because they don't know the value of the representation of the buyer.
So, Will, when you say that, what are you advocating as far as being a buyer presentation? What would that contain?
I think we should treat it exactly like we do the sellers, where, we allocate an hour and a half to describe the services we give to buyers. It's not just finding the right property. It's certainly negotiating the process of the offer and showing them a timeline. I think we can educate them on that whole entire process. If there's lending involved, we explain how we can help there, and recommend loan officers that we know have a good track record. The whole process of inspections and all the things that are wrapped into how we serve a buyer, that needs to be presented like we do with sellers, where we have, this is what we do and here's the benefit. This is what we do and here's the benefit. So if we don't see, this is back to the whole overarching message: problem, solution, value. If you never show the buyer what your solutions are to their problems, they don't see value. Because what if the world did go this way? What if the lawsuit results in buyers have to okay the rate of the BAC or pay for it themselves? So seller says, sure, 3% BAC. It's already publicly disclosed. That was one settlement issue with NAR. What if the rule says the buyer has to approve that themselves, because don't they pay it in the sales price? Isn't that what they're doing?
Mm-hmm.
They're paying it in the sales price. Okay. So that's why the lawsuit even exists. So because they're paying for it and they didn't set the rate. Okay. So if the buyer has to approve the rate or pay for it out of their own pocket, in addition to their down payments and closing costs, whatever they may have, if that's the world we go to, do you see how important it is to create value with the buyer?
Right.
So it's monumental, right? We can't just keep lead converting with buyers and go, show house, sell. We need to introduce the services to buyers and the value of our services, and then so they understand that. Then those commission objections evaporate, because you're so worth it, right? You're so worth the 3%. No different than you are to the seller, right?
So Kevin, you know what? So I think it'd be interesting how many of us have buyer packets per se. It's kind of like when I have a buyer, we'll show them a rep sheet. We'll say, hey, we may want to have an inspection. Here's the sample inspection. Here's what maybe a title policy looks like. So I think that it's, again, the whole thing of what does it entail in the whole process, and actually having a booklet for a buyer like we do a seller and show samples. And I think people, we do that. Some of us do it better than others. And I think at some point, it'd be great to maybe share how some of them have buyer packets or seller packets.
Yeah.
Hey, Will.
Yes.
One of my agents is really good at doing this, and she's put together a buyer packet, and she also created our Moxie program is not just a listing program, it's a presentation program.
Right.
And she created a buyer Moxie that she emails out to a new buyer that she connects with. So I would recommend taking a look at going on to Moxie and putting together, something like that. I think that would work really well as well.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, put together, and I think the company has a role in this. So we need to sharpen our saws, all of us, on getting our buyer presentation better, like we do with sellers. Treat it as exactly the same way. So all good tips, guys. Really, really good.
Hey, Will.
Yes.
Hey, it's Eric.
Hi, Eric. Thanks for joining.
Hey, of course. Hey, I just want to mention video
Yeah.
is also very duplicatable and replicatable. If you go on YouTube and watch other agents that have buyer presentations and seller presentations, you can send that to people. And especially, I wouldn't even say the younger crowd, more and more people just love video. And then you go through like the highlights, perhaps of a REPSI, you go through highlights of, an inspection in brief, make it less than 4 or 5 minutes. People are really impressed with that. So just a thought.
Nice. I love that. Wow. I mean, my days at Stringham and being in a studio, and my mind just went crazy on what you could do with that. But to simplify some points down where you send it kind of as an introduction and not, some, like you said, Eric, some people will really enjoy that and want to watch it. Others may not. That's fine. But that's a great way to get the message across about the value of a buyer's agent. And I think that's the question for all of us is how am I doing there? This was not really the planned emphasis of today, but Chris, thanks for bringing that up. And we've been on this. Like if you look in your coaching manual, there's things in the buyer packet that say the buyer section, working with buyers, that say, like how to get my offer accepted, the consultation meeting with buyers and what's in it. Here, let me go to that. Share screen, and it's page 131. And we'll come back to this one. Let's see. 131. Go. Yeah, buyer consultation meeting. So look, this was put together at least 2 years ago, when this, first came up and there was a settlement attempt with NAR. So it's kind of giving you the timeline here. In 1991 is when we first had representation services for buyers. Like we do not want to go back to a world where, because the seller is the only one paying, they're the only one represented. That would be a horrible world for buyers. That would be a huge step back. So some of the consequences of this, potential, lawsuit, the damages to buyers is hard to prove, because they get services, and it's really hard to prove that it's better for them to pay for it on their line of the settlement costs, right? And I think we all know that. Like, why is it that a benefit to come from the buyer's cash and think about qualifying for loans? I mean, we understand the buyer is going to pay for it in a sales price, but it comes to cost and deduction on the seller side. If it came to a deduction on a buyer side, it complicates their down payment needs and their closing cost needs. So it actually would harm them. And so it's really difficult for any two things: collusion to be proved and damages that would be saved by buyer. So here's the consultation meeting and topics that would be in there. Certainly finding the right property, the technologies in searching, how they go about finding property, earnest money amounts and timings, and think about all the complexities of how we win deals. We don't know what we're going to be up against. Recently had a family member put $300,000 of non-refundable earnest money to win a bid. So it can get really, really intense when you're in those kinds of deals. The financing process, here are all the things you already know. You can look through that. Okay. So, and we may be up against high demand, which I want to show you something else, guys. How many of you are using Rapid Stats or getting to know Rapid Stats? Do you still see my screen? Yes or no?
No.
No? Okay. So good and bad of this, for those who are in Wasatch Front, I mean, Logan, I would include in that. So Logan, Ogden, North Salt Lake, Utah County. This is really good data. For those in St. George, Cedar City, Kanab, Moab, Moab, probably good data, right, Rachel? I mean, Utah real estate, only MLS. Is that correct? I think that's correct.
Yeah. Moab's on the WFR MLS.
Yeah, but Wasatch back, no good.
No.
We're missing a huge amount of data. Like same with St. George, huge amounts of data are not put on UtahRealEstate.com.
And they could use it in the Wasatch back, but the problem is 80% of the properties aren't in there, so it's a really bad sample size.
Yeah. So I just played around with something. So this is rapid stats. I went to market. This is just the summary of the market in Salt Lake County. And I did a price range here. So take a look, really easy to pick your county and your price range and to get some really good data to pull from. Active listings are up in this category of this price range. The 1 million to 3 million are up. Okay, but I'm going to change this now to all categories and have it, sorry guys, it's hard to move all these things on the one screen. So then refresh this. Show you something that's just really weird. Okay, check this out. Active listings, all listings, this is still Salt Lake County, down 19% year over year. So you've heard we have inventory problems. We're down. But normally when you have down in inventory, you have increase in under contracts and increases in sold. Have you ever in your history of real estate ever seen a market where solds are down year over year, under contracts are down, but also active listings? I would submit you never have. You never have. Because what you would see with down inventory is an increase of demand, which would mean higher under contract rates. And if you see solds going down year over year, again, you would see this number go up. Right? I've never seen it. And if anybody wants to put a time frame to look at, I'm all ears. But never in my 30-year career have I ever seen data that looks like that. So what
do you think it's because your interest rate is so good on the house that you have right now that you're not going to move up, so you're not going to sell your house?
Yes. Now that would be the
it's a bad time to sell. Yeah,
because sellers are not going to let go of their 2% and their 3% rates. So this is where we're hearing the data. New construction is selling 3 times higher rate than they were before because there's no existing homes. And so their buyers are just having to go to new, whether they like the area or not. And in some cases that's fine. But as you take big pieces of data, the new construction is outpacing its historic levels while existing homes are at a historic low. So that would be the reason for it. But whatever the reasons are, I just don't know that we've ever, well, not that I don't know. I do know we've never seen this before. And because
a time frame in the 60s, and like I don't know if there's anybody that sold real estate at that time, but I was reading a book that talked about 1960s, and there was that the pattern seemed to line up to me when I was reading it. It seemed very familiar.
Interesting. Anyone do real estate in the 60s?
I wasn't even born then. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, but hey, I do like us, really being the masters of this data. This can help set proper expectation and I mean, we could play around with a lot of different things here. Maybe just for fun. What county is Moab in? Is it Grand? Rachel?
Yeah, we're in Grand County. There's San Juan County here too, but mainly Grand. But if you include San Juan, then you'll have our whole region.
Okay, well, let's see how we're doing in Moab. So in Moab, active listings up year over year, but down from last month. And sold listings year over year are up 15%, but under contracts are down. Interesting. like bucking the trend here. Does that make sense? Does that look real to you, Rach?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so everything I was just saying is not exactly what's going on in Moab. You see how different markets are.
Yeah,
Right.
but we do have some new product that's coming out too. We don't typically have a lot of new construction, but this year we do have some new
You think
construction.
that's what's doing this right here?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
Plus, last year, the beginning of 2022, we had 14 active listings, maybe 12 active listings in January of 2022. And now we're up to over 100.
Okay, let's see what's going on in Logan real quick. All right, inventory up. So everything I just said about Salt Lake County, and you've never seen it before, not exactly going on in Logan either. But solds are down and listings are up 10%, but solds are down 20%. Still tight, but not exactly what I was talking about. Let's try another county. How about Davis County? Let's see what's going on there. Yeah, all down. Active listings down, under contracts down, solds down. I've just never seen that.
Hey, does it show you median price on this market stat summary?
You can get yeah, right here, median. Here's our median price per square foot, but there's all kinds of reports you can run over here. When we go market summary, look at all these, you know, this information that you can like, let's do let me pull, let's see what county we want to pull. You know, I just realized I misspoke yesterday in sales meeting. I think I misspoke. I think I said Salt Lake County on this number I just looked at. This is those who get the Realtor magazine or Salt Lake Realtor magazine, or these graphs are going to look very familiar. This is where they're pulling those data pages. And I think it does have the median in here. Single family. Yeah, single family Salt Lake County. And that seems extremely high to me. Look at that number, 700,000. Single family Salt Lake County, 2023, 723. That just seems extremely high to me. But Berkshire, another kind of interesting thing about office metrics here, you can get all of Berkshire Hathaway's production is in here by office. So if here's the Salt Lake office, this is the average sales price for Salt Lake office. You see that? 786. So much higher than the average. So really good news there. This is the improper data from Saddleview. So I wouldn't count on that at all. Let's see, where is Moab? Moab right here. Average sales price 542. Does that sound right, Rach?
Yeah, I would say just because we had quite a few closings in the 200 to 300 price range, but typically our median price range right now is from 650 to 700.
Yeah, okay. There's Cache Valley sitting at 686. I mean, another fantastic sales price average. So million in Park City. No, these I wouldn't count too much of these, but Heber 1.3, North Salt Lake 726, Ogden 536, all great numbers. So this has never been given to us before, so it's pretty cool. I would take some time to practice that and really get to know rapid stats and remember to translate what that means. So let's go back. There's a couple of points from sales meeting on page, let's see. Yeah, I wanted to highlight. Oh, when you're talking about appreciation, if any of your sellers have flattened out on appreciation or even seen some small declines, remember to paint the picture from 2019. And it's a whole, it's very rosy, you know, lots of sunshine. But I think that's truthful. You know, that's one of those things about being completely honest, is if we ticked back a little bit in some price points, remember, we've had massive amounts of appreciation over the last 3 years. Let's see. When it comes to costs and interest rates as being a villain, one of the things the hero can use here is to focus on when someone says, I'm not sure it's the right time. Remember, the timing for a person or a family is very unique to them. So this is where you need to counsel with them about how important the problem is they're solving for their family. And in some cases, the timing is right now, like it was last month, you know, and the cost is worth it. So we have to understand the magnitude of the problem they're solving before we can even counsel with them about whether or not that's good money to be spent on solving that problem. Remember the Verbo commercial, right? Remember why we really buy. Residential real estate, for the most part, is not a stock to be traded. We're not looking for it to be at a low price and then sell it when it's a high price when it comes to residential real estate. We're typically talking about primary homes and second homes in most of our purchases. So focus on the why. That was a good takeaway from yesterday.
Well, with the limited inventory that's out there, if they're waiting for rates to go down, guess what will happen when rates go down? Prices will go up. And so any advantage they may think they have by waiting is going to be eaten up in higher prices. And so they should buy now while they have an opportunity to have prices kind of stabilize, even gone down in certain areas and at the higher interest rate, and then just refinance when rates come down.
Kev, that's, to me, I was thinking about this the other day about the pendulum of this. And
Yeah.
You're so right. Look, there's 45 on this call right now. If you only remember one thing from this call, you should remember what Kevin just said. Okay? Because that's the pendulum that's swinging back the other way. If rates do go down in the 5s or high 4s, appreciation will soar and houses will hit the market, and we're just gonna see a firestorm again. And our buyers are gonna pay more on that sales price. And if they've already purchased, they can refi that rate, right? So if they stay high, then they'll be glad they got the rate they got, right?
You don't have to be an economic genius to figure out that there's manipulation in those mortgage rates and markets, because every 4 years, right before the elections, rates go down. So guess what? When it's coming.
Yeah, totally agree. I think
I've been through just a few election cycles. I'm sure Steve Chen has too, but starting right about the end of summer, the year before the November elections, you'll see rates lower. And you can track it. You can go back and look at historical charts. It's just like clockwork. It's an attempt to buy favor, and you'll see it.
Yeah. Yep. Sad to say, but I think a lot of that is true. But just remember, if those rates go down, guys, people will pay more. So we're going to see more appreciation. So seize the moment in appreciation in most markets is very little right now, or has stalled or is flat. In some cases, it's ticked down just a hair. So go ahead and take advantage of that now. That's a good reason to buy. If we have a seller who's thinking about whether I should give up the good old rate for a higher new rate, I think you need to counsel with them on what problem they're solving for their family, and remember the reason why people buy real estate. And then, that's a good hero play, by the way. That's heartfelt. That's compassionate. It's real, like we're human. We're not cold salespeople. We care about the outcome and the problems they're trying to achieve. Let's see if I got one more, tip. That was number 8. Well, we already talked about that one. So, I think this has been a really good discussion, you guys. I thanks for joining me today.
Well, there's a question from Nisha in the chat about the opinion quoting median versus average sales price. Median sales price is what you really should be using, because it kind of throws up the high and the low and really gets to what the true average is. If you go just strictly average, it can be skewed by a few really high sales prices or a few really low sales prices, or distressed properties or exceptional properties that don't tell the true story. So the median is really what we always look at.
I think that's very true. Yeah, remember, when we average, we take the total number of listings or units and we divide that by the value, and that gives us the average. But when you take median, you look at where the center of the values are, not the center of the units. So to Kev's point, it's a lot better accuracy on what's going on with values today, because a $20 million listing would really skew the average, right? Because it would really count as one. So it really skews the average. I was going to say something about that. I just forgot. Shoot.
So Will,
yeah.
I have a thing to add on to Kevin's comment about, which I think is so right on, is I think we think as if we were a buyer, or think as if we were a seller. If interest rates drop, we sure think a value of our property or home will go up. And then I think I throw in, we sure do not see cost of construction going down. Trades are going to continue to get paid. Architects, builders they're in such low supply and high demand that their fees will continue to probably grow. So I think you add that component, and it's hard to go and be a salesman and saying you should buy now. But I think if by adding what Kevin talked about, add on what cost construction, and then I think if you really want to get down to it, you go, okay, what is the increase in interest rate cost us? And then you carry out, at what point can you buy down, or do we think interest rates need to go down to, which again, election, they will go down. And I think you can get fairly numeric and help buyers to get more comfortable that maybe the timing is better now versus waiting. Again, it's all speculating and making assumptions, but I think these are likely assumptions. Costs will go up, prices will go up if rates go down, and at least the buyers can give it more thought.
Yeah. Very well said, Steve. Very good. You're well, I'm glad you shared it. I really can't thank you guys enough for what you bring to these discussions. I mean, I was just debating this yesterday with Lance May. This is 7 years in the company. I've tried to have a coaching session at least once a week. If you take that times 7 years and everything we put together, like sometimes I wake up in the morning and go, I don't know what else to say. Like I don't know what else to tell you. Like I kind of like feel like maybe I've said it all, and though that's impossible to logically say we've said it all. But when you come together to help your teammates with advice and counsel, look how this discussion went. Like you changed the way that this whole thing went. If you didn't show up, it wouldn't have been as great. And so I really appreciate all of you for offering to help your fellow Brookshire family and share your genius, your expertise, your experience, because it really matters. And I think, money is nice. I've got some very nice things in my life. I feel very grateful, but they're just things. What really matters to me is fulfillment and giving back and making a difference in someone's life. And, if there's someone around you in your circles and Brookshire family that needs help, the very people that are likely not on these calls, are the very agents who should be. So please encourage them to come once a week. Let's inspire each other, lift each other. We all leave feeling like, we've got more gas in the tank and things are possible, when we come together and help each other. And I'll submit it's a way better payday than your commission check ever will be. From the bottom of my heart, and I really appreciate you. The people that you are and the friendships that we all have and the way you give back to each other. It's inspiring to me. So thank you so much. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I'm going to say goodbye. But hey, Chris, I will go ahead and pull up Ogden's stats in just a minute after we stop recording. And I'll tell you where those trend lines are. So thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed coaching today. Go out there and help somebody.